Hi, everyone. This is the Double G podcast. Oh, sorry, the French OG podcast. I'm here with Glenn Lawrence. Glenn, please introduce yourself.
Yes, how you guys doing? My name is Glenn Lawrence. I am an actor, podcast producer, production writer, and a guy from LA. I don't know what else to say.
All right, all right. Well, actually, the way I met Glenn is when I went to Gia's podcast and you were the producer for Gia. Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, how comes this guy that was, that is in the film industry, I see him talking about red pill stuff, etc., etc. So, can you explain a little bit more about your story?
Yeah, so before I got into the film industry, I was a youth pastor. I was married for 14 years, and my wife had an affair. Well, she had three affairs, and I
Hmm.
didn't learn about any of the affairs until the last one. And so I told my pastor that I was working for, I was going to file for divorce. He said I was wrong, that I needed to be like Hosea. Basically, they made me step down from my youth pastor position, and then they put her in that place. And basically, I wasn't welcomed really in the church anymore. They said I should have stayed married to her. And biblically speaking, infidelity is the grounds for divorce. So I was like, I don't know why he would say that when I was on the right track, in the right path. Um, and then I kind of went spiraling downhill, like everything, my whole world kind of just imploded in front of my eyes. I left the state of Washington that I was in and moved back to California. And I said, you know what, I'm going to start pursuing doing the things that I want to do. And that's how I kind of got into filmmaking. Was I was always wanted to be in films. I got into it when I was in high school. 9/11 happened, so I left to go in the military. So now I'm divorced. I'm like, I'm gonna do it for me. I'm gonna pursue what I wanted to do. And I got into the filmmaking industry that way. And you know, I was still spiraling, trying to figure out where I went wrong. And that's kind of how I fell into the red pill space. And while I was in the film industry. And that's where I met with a lot of the guys like Rolo, everybody that I've worked with previously, is because I found their work, and the work spoke some truth to me. And then I ended up being Rolo's producer at one point. I produced for Pearl at times. I produced for RP Thor when he was alive. I've worked with you know Sterling Cooper. Um, uh, what's his name? Clary, Cappy, goes by Cappy,
Yeah,
um,
Aaron Clary. Yeah.
Aaron Clary, Paul Benjamin from Apex
Yeah,
Mindset. I worked
yeah,
with Paul Bauer from Come On Man podcast. Um, you know, had MLD on my show as well. Uh,
mhm.
so I've worked with a lot of the well known names in this space.
Okay. Okay, okay. No, because I was wondering, like, so how, how come this person that basically comes from a youth, a youth pastor background, gone to the red pill? I mean, talking about 180, and it
Well,
seems like, yeah, go on.
it's not so much like a 180. What I realize is that the church is feminized, right? The
I was
church
gonna
has
ask
this.
you this. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the church has been really feminized, and it has taken away like the patriarchal masculine leadership. Anytime a man has a problem with his wife in church and he goes to his pastor, the pastor says, just be a better servant leader. Just serve your wife better. Right. And it's like, well, that didn't work out for me. So what I found out was is that there's a lot of guys that are Christian that find themselves in the red pill because of this, bad, teaching of be a good servant leader. Just serve your wife better. It's all you got to do. And regardless of, what your wife does, you just need to be better at serving her. And that to me was a setup, and it set men up for failure. And that's what in my opinion, that's what contributed to such the high divorce rate that we see in churches. Like, if you're a Christian, you shouldn't be getting divorced, right? I mean, you should have like the best relationships. But according to statistics, we see that Christian divorces is on par with non-Christian divorces. And so why is there no difference? Well, a lot of that has to do with what the church has been adopting and teaching for the last 40 plus years.
Okay. So technically, because of the feminization of the church, It has given pretty much a white blanket to women to do whatever the fuck they wanted without basically any accountability. I'm not saying that we should that they have any, but it has actually, made things worse. Therefore, it's almost like the Christian moniker doesn't have any type of added value in terms of whether or not your marriage is gonna last long.
Well, I mean, it should, but it doesn't because it removed the framework that it once had. By basically stripping it away from a patriarchal structure, and you're making it to where, like, the husband is responsible for all the blame, basically, and but he has no authority, that's problematic.
Hmm. Yeah. So basically, responsibility was no authority. Yeah, great. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's slavery. They push slavery, basically.
All right. So, and what was it saying that basically got you? Like, maybe there was an article or an angle from the red pill that basically got you, interested, triggered. What was it?
I would say that it was an old episode of Rolo's when Rolo was doing, when he was podcasting with, the guy by the name of Pat Campbell who passed away.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I heard about it.
it was like basically Red Pill 101 back in the day. That's the best way, like, I would explain it. Um, and what ended up happening was that I literally thought, like, Rolo was telling my story. I was like, "Damn, how does this guy know so much about my life? Like, how did he know?" So that kinda got me interested in reading his work. And then when I read his work, I was like, "Yeah, this is actually I've experienced a lot of this." And so I believed it to be true. And, I ended up working with him shortly, a year or 2 after that, I ended up being his producer in Vegas.
All right. So, I mean, I don't know how much you can say about this or whatever, but like, tell us about that time. Tell us like what happened in your evolution. In terms of knowledge, understanding, revisiting what happened to you in your relationship. I mean, in your marriage.
Um, so what I realized that there was some very core things that was true that he was saying, but he re what they tend to do is they tend to take the data and they'll strip it down, right? But without all the nuances and all the context and all the other things that are important that made that outcome.
Hmm.
And they remove all that and then they give it to you stripped down to where it's triggering. So they'll say all women are hypergamous, right? Hypergamy is bad, blah 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 blah. But really, when you look at the findings, when you look at the data, it doesn't say that.
I mean, the thing is, for example, I'll use the example between assortative mating strategy
Yeah.
and dual mating strategy, for example. I mean, for me, look, I see something, right? So I come from, I did law and political science, and as part of political science, there's a lot of sociology, right? So
Hmm.
I was big into sociology, and you can see that there are reasons why people end up with people, for example, right? You have basically, if I use, for example, Pierre Bourdieu, right, which is a big French sociologist, right? You said that you have three different type of capital. First capital is, economic capital, right? So basically how much money you make. Second one is cultural slash academic capital, which is, um, basically how well read, how educated you are, etc., etc. And then the third one is social capital, which is about network. I'm giving you those proxies just so that you get people get it easily.
Hmm.
And if you basically associate that with assortative mating strategy, and you see that people end up with the people within their social economic class, you understand, right? However, is dual mating the thing is, I know, for example, Rollo basically said dual mating strategy basically trumps associative no, assortative
Restorative.
mating strategy, assortative, yeah, whatever, mating strategy. It's not either or, it is both, and I'll tell you
It is
why.
both.
Because when they're young, they focus on dual mating, and then when
Hmm.
they get older and when they have less options, they focus on assortative mating strategy. Why? Because before they have the option, or before they technically have free chips. So they'd be like, well, why would I go with someone that is supposed to be right for me when I want to do and go for someone that I feel something for, and it may not be right for me? And generally what happens is, if it feels wrong, it's more likely to be real for the person, because everything must have a cost in order for things to mean something. If it doesn't have a cost, i.e., it makes total sense. If it makes total sense, then it's almost like it takes away the drama, it takes away the narrative, it takes away the feeling. However, that doesn't make assertive mating strategy wrong if we look at marriage data, for example.
Exactly. And but see what they do is they remove all that nuance, all that all the details that you just explained, they
Mhm.
strip that out of the conversation and they're like, all women are like this. Well, ask yourself, why would they do that? Why would you remove information that is essential to the to explaining the outcome? The only reason why you would do so is if you are wanting someone to have a specific narrative or a specific view of the opposite gender,
Yeah.
right?
Or but I'd say even it's pernicious in the sense that if I'm talking from a pure psychology marketing perspective. If you look at Red Pill, it's not to deny some of the core teaching of it. It's not so much that the thing, but it's about how do you market the ideas, right? Because it's like it's not only about the quality of the ideas, but it's how you market the ideas. In order for something to go viral, in order for something to basically be brought to the marketplace, you need to basically hit the ego, right? The moment they hit the ego, it hits the identity. The identity needs to be protected, right? Therefore, it's like people either reject literally the stuff,
Yeah.
or they embrace it, right? So in that sense, it creates a polarization. It's like whenever I go on, I'll give you an example. Whenever I go on Amazon, and it's like I want to see books that create polarity in the sense of I want to see you have very strong pros, very strong cons people. So it actually shows that actually it hits a nerve, and that nerve is actually quite telling. And the red pill did that. And that's why it has been successful in terms of the propagation of the idea.
Well, let me ask you this question: how beneficial overall do you think the red pill has been when it comes to relationships? Then because I think it's great for short-term mating strategies, but I think it's detrimental for long-term mating strategies. You have guys that are choosing to opt out of marriage now altogether. You got guys that are wanting to get sex robots, now instead of engaging with women. So I think it's the way that they disseminate the information. Since it's not in its entirety, since it's in a way to get triggered, it is, framed in a way to get an emotional reaction. It's almost in a way it's being very dishonest. And that's my problem with it. It's like, all women are hypergamous. But if you said, yeah, all women are hypergamous because God created them to be able to have this feature in order to sort out the best mate for them for long-term, relationships because they want to make sure this guy could provide for them, protect them and their offspring. If it was framed that way, that's a more holistic and not so adversarial, way of saying it. But if you're saying like women are hypergamous, she will monkey branch and swing to the next dick, whatever dick she thinks is bigger and better and can provide her more. That's how women are. That's the women. So then right there it makes you think, well, maybe I should not even invest in a woman. And I think
I
it's
mean,
the way that it's framed is could be problematic overall.
you can frame something in a certain way, right? It's kind of like, but if I can frame something in any way I want, but if it doesn't have a resonance box, if things that didn't happen to people, be the same way that how the red pill basically, you know, you know, interested you because role basically told you your life story,
Yeah.
right? It's like it's not because he framed it that way; it's because it was your life story. If you,
Well,
if yeah, you see what I'm saying? It's like I'm not saying that things have not evolved. I'm saying
yeah.
making a diagnostic is not necessarily the problem. However, to answer your question, which was the original one, do you think it has been a net positive or a net negative? It depends because, and I'm talking not only in short term but long term. I'd say actually the opposite, and I'll tell you why. I think that for the short run, is actually enabled and create a low trust environment.
Yes.
Uh, that's something that I see because the thing is, it's like there was feminism, then there was a red pill, then now you've got like all this power control dynamic bullshit, right? This is not to say, for example, power dynamics don't exist in relationship, but the thing it has been now the main center of focus rather than something being latent and underlying. But if for long term, I actually think it's actually a much better thing because it helps guys in an era where you basically, as you were saying about the church, where the patriarchal setup framework where you have a certain way of doing things. When you basically break that out, then you have no point of anchor. You have no anchors. So it's almost act as a proxy for the prior patriarchal model in the sense of, but using covert communication tactics because we have to work in the realm of women as we're living in a gynocentric society. So it's not the best, but it helps guys reassert themselves within long-term relationship in order to be able to actually lead them properly. If you see what I'm saying.
No, I get what you're saying. This is my thing though. If it says feminism is the problem and female promiscuity is the problem, but all their prescriptions are how to capitalize on female promiscuity and a workaround of feminism, then itself by definition is part of the problem.
The thing is, it's like at the end of the day, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is the best solution, and I'm not, I don't have a RPA hat on me. Don't get me wrong, right? If even if you look at the red pill and how very woman or gynocentric it is, by just the fact that everything is a derivative of what the woman does,
Yeah,
yeah, hundred
it's a
percent,
response to the woman. It's like it's not leading, it's responding, it's reacting to the
yeah,
woman.
exactly.
Instead of like saying, instead of saying like, okay, this is the best way to look at it. Like my mentor wrote the book, A Dominant Masculine Presence. He basically takes what the red pill says and he goes, "Great, thank you, red pill. But now I'm going to get back to my purpose. I'm going to use this information and I'm going to go leave an imprint on the world. And I don't care what women are saying. I don't care what women are doing. You know what? If a woman wants to be in my life, then she's going to subject herself to the frame that I establish. I'm not going into her frame. She's going to fall into my frame. And if she doesn't want to be in my frame, she doesn't have to. She doesn't have to be in my life either. Like I'm not going to where I regardless of what women do, I'm still doing me. So whether a woman wants to be in my life or not, that's irrelevant. My purpose and my mission is not changing.
And that's the best. That's the best line to have. I mean, again, I have nothing against Myron. But like, it's like you gotta have status. You have got a game. You gotta have game. You gotta have
That's
this. You gotta have
all
that.
that's bullshit.
Yeah, but then at the end of the day, you still make yourself a subservient of the woman by nature in the meta. So don't get me wrong. All of what you're doing here is you could basically be on your purpose. Be an actor, be a movie actor, etc. Build your life around you, right? And on the surface, it will look exactly like what Myron says because you get
Yeah,
successful, you get the money, you get everything, but the
but it's the
mindset is
reasoning.
different. It's the
Yes,
reasoning,
it's
it's the
the
mindset that
reasoning
different.
and the mindset is different, right? I'm not doing it for women. I don't care about women, right? Unless the woman is if she's my woman, then I care about her. But what women are doing, it doesn't bother me because they're not mine. I have no control over them, and I have no way to change anything. The only thing that I could do is if I see a woman that's misbehaving or I consider bad behavior, I don't pay her any attention, right? I don't need to talk about her. I don't need to say all women are hoes. No, I just do me, and I'm not worried about them, right? But see, what the red pill does, it made something that was supposed to be a gas station, like you go in there, you fill up, you get the information that you need, and then you get back on your journey. It has turned it into a destination. You got guys camping out there, and then now you got this black pill movement. It's like, well, my mentor used to always say, once you go red pill, if you stay there too long, you're going to go black pill, right? Because you're going to end up becoming nihilistic. If all you're going to be doing is, regurgitating this rhetoric over and over again. And I just say it's a utility, it's a tool. Take the information you find useful, then get back on your journey. Don't be sitting in there. Don't be camping on it. Don't like make it your ideology. And that's what they're doing. I think a lot of these creators are breadcrumbing a lot of their audience so that they stay there. Because let me tell you something. If I cured let's say you had cancer and I cured you of cancer, right? You will never need me anymore, right? I have solved your problem. You'll go back on your life. Well, that's a revenue stream that I would have lost. Now, if I just give you, you know what? Here, take this to take care of these symptoms, and I'm just helping you with your symptoms, but I'm never addressing the root problem, right? Then I got a customer for life.
Yeah, of course.
That's how the red pill is doing it, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
but because at the end of the day, right, it's about it started as, let's say, a book of ideas, right? But then people realize through social media that you can actually create an income source. It's kind of like almost a SaaS based model. where you have like a recurring revenue from basically from distilling ideas. So even though the ideas in and themselves are not necessarily wrong, but
Mhm.
because of how everything has become an economy, especially in the States. Every time I go to the States, I'm always fucking amazed at how people manage to monetize about every fucking thing. It's, you know, it's crazy, but it's just part of the game. So it's almost like it's not so much about the red pill. I'm quoting by that the praxeology because people went on me
Well, I mean,
because
it's
it
not
was
even a
called
praxeology if you think about it. It's definitely not a praxeology according to its like real definition of praxeology. You
I
know,
mean
it's a loose definition of praxeology because
I mean
praxeology
already
had to
the
deal with economics.
well, when I try to write the word, right, I always get it wrong, right? But the thing is, when I remember, I was like, and I'm good normally with vocabulary, but and then I remember I said it was ideology, and then I had the Ryan Stone and everyone coming on to me, and I was like, if it was not an ideology, why are you all fucking defending it like it is? No, but you see
Good
what I'm saying,
question.
and it's like no, but it's like you don't understand the meta. It's like okay, fine, it's not an ideology. Why are you basically becoming gatekeepers? Who have designed you as a gatekeepers? And it's like appreciate the ideas. Don't take your identity from hoarding the ideas from others. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, like, and so where that led, it would led to where me and Gia connected was because one, my mentor, Thor, he really liked her work and he's like, she's onto something. You know, he wanted to establish a panel where it was men and women, right? And the collaboration of men and women building that bridge together because there's this divide between the sexes. And we know that the divide between the sexes is not helping. If anything, is complicating more things. And he wanted us to collaborate. Well, he passed away in May and he wasn't able to collaborate with her, but her and I linked up and she and what's sad was like she lost her father the same way that my mentor passed away through a brain tumor. And so
It's a shame.
we had some shared like experiences and we had, worked together, we did a show together and then we decided let's do this continually. Let's help build this bridge. Let's talk about these concepts that are out there that are misleading people, that are like, either people are taking them incorrectly or they're taking them without all the details in the information, so they're coming to a negative conclusion, or maybe because whoever is disseminating this information is intentionally doing it in a way that it comes off triggering. And so we have talked about a wide variety of topics, and that's what our whole show is about. It's about trying to build that bridge between men and women and get them back on the same page to let them know that hey, yes, there are these distinct differences between men and women. And if we know about them ahead of time, then we know how to operate within a relationship in a healthy, holistic way that's beneficial to all parties involved.
The main problem, I'd say, the main source of why you have the gender war, right, whatever, the war of the sex, is because both sex through internet realize actually what do the other sex respond to, and they fucking hate it.
Yeah.
In a sense, no, but and it's like it can be from the red pill, it can be from just standard celebrity sharing news and shit, and then people collate and basically draw the parallels, right? And obviously, as with every narrative, there are going to be some that are a bit more hurtful than others. And the more hurtful it is, the more it resonates. The more it resonates, the more it carries, etc., etc. So it's like, yes, there is a pernicious effect in all of this, but is like it's about making people accept that it's not about them as much as they like to believe, but it's also about the person. Because what was very interesting when I came across the red pill, right? Because I come from a game background. When I came across the red pill, what was really interesting was the fact that game was making it all about the woman, but it was also very much in the frame of the woman, a bit like the red pill is, but in a more honest way, in a more overt way, in the sense of
Yeah,
what does she
this is what
respond
women
to?
react to. This is what women.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what we're gonna provide, right? But like P way, whatever, right? And then you come with the red pill, and then basically you use evolutionary psychology, etc., etc. And then you'd be like, okay, well, those are the signals that you need to show, right? No. And then basically they respond good to you, right? Whether it is in a relationship, whether it is in short term, etc., etc. Okay. Now it's like now that the information is there, right? And people basically take it because if I see something right now in today's world is if you want to make content that go viral, I look at TikTok, right? It's all about ego control, narrative control, ego protection. It's fucking crazy because now everybody want to make it about them, not understanding that if you always make it about yourself, you cannot connect with the other. And it's like, in order to get connected with the other, you need to talk that other person's language. But if each and every one of us is being um, entertained in the opposite way of only connect to your language, right? And you know what? And then, and I'll tell you something, but that's kind of empirical experience right now.
Hmm.
I date, I date just almost to collect more data rather than actually, have a relationship or have sex, whatever. Like just, and you know what I noticed? What I noticed is that everybody is so hoping to have their cup filled that they
Without filling the
attract.
other person's cup.
Yeah, but you know what? You know who does it attract? Narcissists.
Yes.
And it's crazy. The last three girls I saw, same thing. Oh, my ex was a narcissist, a cokehead and narcissist. So there's three last girls. You can't fucking make it up. It's like you look at this and you're like, they're not realizing that they're actually making themselves primed for the narcissist. Yeah.
I want to show you something. This is from an interview I just did recently
Yeah.
with another guy. Is a clip. I'll play it for you real quick. I want to get your opinion on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sharing it. You see it?
See. Yeah, go on.
Think the red pill gets right, though. I mean, we could that is a discussion in itself, but we could actually
No, I think I said a little bit ago. I think the red pill is absolutely accurate when it comes to the descriptions of the problems that men are facing. That's it. That's all I could give them is the descriptions to the problems.
right. They do give accurate depictions of them. I do believe that they're constructs, even though some people think they're silly or I don't know, cliche. I do believe these designations such as alpha, beta, omega, alpha widow, these
Yeah.
are real constructs, but they're real constructs to me in a world that is decaying. I mean, they're real, but they're not.
They're container words, like
Yes.
that's how I look at it. Look at them, they're great container words to give definition to a multiple of characteristics or behaviors or traits that we may exhibit in people, right? I tell guys, don't get so hung up on it, because you may think you're alpha. But so here's the funny thing. If you have to tell me how alpha you are,
Yeah.
you just told me how alpha you're not.
I'm alpha.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Because I mean, I have never seen a king walk into a room and have to remind everybody, hey, male space, did you know I'm the king?
Hear me, for I am your king.
I'm a king. Yeah, I'm the king.
Yeah.
The king walks into the room and everybody's bowing, right?
Right.
Everybody already knows who he is because they have to announce himself. So a lot of these guys get hung up on these container words and think like, oh, that's being real beta. That's real. You're not alpha. Well, first of all, alpha is contextual. You're not always going to be the alpha in every given situation, right? Perfect example. Tom Brady was alpha on the football field. He was the guy. Everybody knew that. They built the team around Tom Brady. He obviously wasn't the alpha at home.
What do you think the red pill?
What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's like what you're saying is very, very key. Very key. Container words, right? I'll tell you. For me, I hate the term alpha. Right? I hate the term alpha because it's kind of like it's too yeah.
It's stupid.
However,
Just face it.
I would say
When people
thing
get
is,
hung
it's
up
like,
on the alpha, whether or not they're being alpha or not, it's just way too.
and what you said is very key. I remember, like it's like that quote from Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. It's like, he who says he's a king is no king. When he said that to Joffrey, was saying, "I'm the king." So it's like I'm totally with you on that. And he was basically the underling technically, but in reality, he carried the council. You also I think, for example, terms like alpha widowed, yeah, 100%. I've
Yeah,
seen that firsthand.
I've
Like,
seen
yeah,
that.
happy to. I find that the term beta, for example, is actually I prefer using the term beta rather than alpha because it's more you can see the stuff more easily, and it's kind of like an easy
I think
proxy
beta's
for.
even taken back like bad in a sense because beta basically is the next man up. It's the next alpha up, really.
What
You
do you mean is
know,
the next alpha up?
when you look at the real hierarchical of like the wolf pack and all that other stuff,
Hmm.
once the alpha dies, the beta is going to be the next man up. It's like the general, right? Like you have the king, then you have the generals underneath him, and that's really what the betas are in that framework. But in what the way we talk about it, we make beta to seem something negative.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, right? It's like, look at it this way. You know, when a girl goes with alpha, generally what happens is she'll go and settle for a beta afterward. It's like you have got the alpha, beta, alpha, beta, alpha, beta, right? Or they may have a situationship with a beta, or they may just basically use him as an emotional tampon, or like whatever, right? And then they're going to go back with the alpha, right? I mean, I'm very
Yeah,
simplifying shit, right?
yeah,
The reality is, and that's something that a lot of guys have a hard time accepting, is
mhm,
that most of the time, especially past 30, women will more likely go with a beta for marriage.
yeah.
Well, more like, and in a way, they're quote unquote winning. But guys, what do they want to be appreciated for? They want to be appreciated for, first of all, their manhood, which they equate to their sexuality. Beta, in and of itself, is anti-sexuality. It's
Yeah,
everything but sexuality. Like, you get to sexuality because you have to pay to get to sexuality with beta. Whereas with
yeah.
alpha, you don't pay for sexuality because that's your main purpose. But then what happens is people realize, well, if I want a relationship, it's almost like I've got to betatize myself a little bit more because otherwise you're not trustworthy, right?
Well, yeah, because I mean,
And
think about it. If you're 100% alpha, you may be great at getting women in bed with you. You're going to have a hard time holding that commitment because you're not going to be giving them, as you pointed out, filling their cup, you
hmm,
know,
I
that
mean,
they
maybe
need.
you know the ways.
Eh,
Maybe that's
oh, you definitely be overflowing the cup in certain ways, okay? But
sorry. Sorry.
but you will not be meeting those like the protector, provider, those other qualities that are necessity in a relationship.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's like, but there's also a problem. There's also a problem, and I see that because what happens is women will often, what they'll do is they'll basically either put you into, okay, fuck material or relationship material, right?
Yeah,
And you know, and it's like they can't. It's like if you're in between, it's almost like, like women will be like fight or flight. It's like I either be like, okay, I like him. Him is a perfect guy for like for the relationship. Him, oh, I can't trust him, so therefore I'm gonna fuck him. But like, but it's really
well, they
that,
really
right?
want the best of both worlds. They want the guy that's alpha enough, that's alpha, that they want to fuck, but they also want him to be the provider and protector for a long-term relationship. And they're in this dichotomy, right? They think it's either one or the other. But really, I think there could be that middle guy that's in the
I
middle.
know, but it can, but it's also about the female ability to perceive things. Because also
Yes.
a dynamic that I'm seeing is, like when I deal with women in their epiphany phase, right? Like 28, 32, all this, right? What happens is, it's like you can see they're fighting between those two worlds. They'd be like, yeah, I want something serious, but like I don't want the boring guy that I wouldn't have fucked in my 20s. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it's like,
exactly.
they're making a concerted effort to get there. Okay, so once they make that concerted effort, it becomes hard when you're a guy in the middle, because also what happens is the more they have had bad experience, or the more they've been disappointed in relationships, not necessarily because of pump and dumps, they're gonna have a higher propensity for control. And control means that basically, in order for you to be in a relationship, because there's a lot of insecure women, you want to control the person that you're with. And even though that's not what is going to be conducive to positive outcome long term for the marriage, because contempt ensues, what
Yep.
happens is then it fucks up the dynamic because of the insecurity type of stuff. So the beta is almost like a collateral damage, even though he was
Yeah.
on the face of it the perfect guy.
Yeah. It's because the beta is willing to concede to the authority of the relationship. He's willing to like concede to her authority rather than establishing authority.
Yeah,
See, so I
because
break it down to
yeah,
like this. It's like you got the bad boys, and then you got the good guys, and then you got like the nice guys, right? All the women go after the bad boys at first. Why? Because they're rebels. Everybody wants to be with them. Those are those
it's
guys,
cool.
right? Yeah, he's cool. And then these girls get burned. These bad boys burn the girls, right? They end up
Yeah,
screwing them over, and they're like, shit, you
yeah,
know, that hurt, right? And then what ends up happening is they go from one extreme to the next. So they go from the bad boys to the nice guys, right? The nice guys are the guys that have no standards, they will just accept anything, right, from these women. You know,
Mm,
like they have no boundaries, right? And women feel
mm,
comfortable there because why? Well, there's no accountability, right? And they're overlooking this other third group called the good guys. Now, the good guys hold the same patriarchal structure as the bad guys. They run the
mhm,
show, but they're good, right? They're
mhm.
good to themselves and they're good to those that are underneath them, right? So women go from one extreme to the next and they overlook this third category of guys. It's kind of like, remember the movie The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, right?
No, I've not watched that movie.
All right, well, I'll tell you a little part about it. Like this little girl named Lucy goes to the Mr. Mole Rat or Mr. Mole, and she goes, "I'm kind of scared to meet Aslan because he's a lion. Is he nice?" And he's like, "No, bitch, he's a fucking lion, but he's good." It is the character of the man that is important here. That we're not that these women are jumping over. So what they see in the bad boy, they see the patriarchal structure. The good guy represents that same patriarchal structure, but they overlook him because all they see is patriarchy. So they go to the guy that's willing to defer authority and abandon patriarchy, and they go to the nice guy.
But because again, it's that binary mode. Because also there's also another thing which is also a trend that I'm seeing, and it's because what are your reference point, right? Where are your reference point as a woman? But it's also even as a guy, right? Now I'll use a woman and a guy as examples. Okay, so if you're a woman, right, and you've been with a bad boy, or you've been with a person that's been very toxic, whatever, right?
Mhm.
You have had like a lot of intensity, and and a lot of times they seek peace. They'd be like, okay, well, I'm done with the bad boy, I'm done with toxic, right? But like when you're kind of like not as intense, you got your backbone, but you're not as intense. You don't resonate emotionally with them because they've been fried by that reference point, that high threshold, right? So even though they actually they come with the right mindset, the right packaging, the nervous system doesn't respond the same. So it's almost like they once they've been cooked once, it's like they need that thing, right? Then it's almost like and then I'll use a guy's example. Basically, some guys, like they will have been like with some fucking crazy nympho, whatever, like or there's BPD woman, and then what happens? It's kind of like that's at the reference, and then comes
They
a
crave it.
girl.
They crave
Yeah,
it. They
exactly.
crave.
A- and then comes a woman that is kind of like not necessarily like like the cleanup woman, but like just a normal woman, and you're like, yeah, she's nice and everything, but I just don't feel it because the reference point is there. So it's
She's
both.
not giving me that crazy monkey sex, like
Yeah, it's like, so on the one hand, you have a marketing problem because they don't portray themselves in the way that when it comes to intensity. But on the other is because the recipient doesn't respond to the level
Mhm.
that they market. Yeah. So
No, I get you. I agree with you. I definitely agree
yeah.
with you on that. Like, I think there's a level of dishonesty there, and this is the problem that I have, right, with the red pill, is that if you're not gonna give out all the information in its entirety, right, and you're selecting what you're gonna say because you know it's gonna get an emotional response for marketing purposes, you're doing a disservice to your consumer.
Yeah. The thing is, at the end of the day, it's about what do you seek out of your consumers? Do you seek them to get like a positive outcome, or just a subscription to Boohoo Land? The
Well, like, for me, like, the when I talk to, like, my audience, my goal
Yeah.
is to give them as much information that I can for them to make an informed decision for themselves, right?
Mhm.
And I may even present, like a prescription in there, right? This is why I would say operate this way based off of my worldview, and I give them all the information. I don't withhold information and let them determine whether or not the prescription I provide them is actually useful for them or not. What I notice a lot of these guys in the red pill will do, they'll give you selected information that works for their narrative, and then they lead you to an outcome that they're from based off the information they provide. So they don't give
Mhm.
you the entirety of it. They give you what they want you to have so that you end up going down the path that they want you to go down.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed that, but I think what happened with the red pill is there's been a shift, right?
Mhm.
It's like it went from game guys with a red pill orientation to red pill as an entity on its own, almost without the game component, right? To the point of entertainment, basically RP as a service, red pill as a service, RPAS, right? That's kind of like the way I see it. Like, it's like it started off based upon empirical testing, empirical feedback, right? To theoretical framework, thing that you make from the, based upon the empirical research. And then it's like, okay, well, fine. How can we monetize that, basically vulgarize that, market that? And then obviously the more you make something wider public, the more the essence dilutes itself, right? And that's kind of, and then the more opportunities comes in. Uh, do I think then basically that is going to create even more low trust? Yeah, it is going to create more low trust, right? But the same way, women basically uh, do things, even irrespective of what the red pill teach, of their own, and they basically
Mhm.
spread the thing that they do because everybody wants to have power. Like almost everybody wants to have powers these days
Well,
because
the
no
biggest
one have real
problem in
power.
the biggest problem in all this conversation is lack of accountability. Men, we reward bad behavior, women reward bad behavior, and that's really what it comes down to.
It's because the thing is when you look at even because if you look at whether it's on the woman's side or on the men's side, it's about what gets you the most leverage. Toxic attachment. So people want to learn toxic. So basically, then afterward they can get away with murder, and that's where the other person reward bad behavior. You see what I'm saying? So from that perspective, I understand why people want to use that, but as with everything, there's a reason why you can use a bit of it, but not too much. But then people want full power, and power corrupts.
Yep.
So
And I don't think there's enough people like talking about both sides of the coin though. Like I think red pill and feminism are two wings on the same bird.
the thing is,
Could be
who came
if
first?
if you does it matter?
Well, yeah, because they explain things. The thing is, it's like if feminism come first, then you have red pill as a reaction because the nature
And then it just shows that
hates the
men are
void.
weak. Shows that men are
Sorry,
weak and they're reacting to women rather instead of leading women. That's what it shows.
but what would it be leading women then?
Well, because if feminism came first, right?
Hmm.
And then red pill is the reaction to feminism, that means men were not leading, they're reacting. They're not
Okay,
being
fine,
proactive, they're being reactive.
but you say red pill is there just as a way to basically get as a way to understand the new dynamics. Is that being
You can
reactive?
understand it, but
Yeah.
then you don't have to play the game that they're playing.
Again, it's also what you include in red pill. Like if you just look at the core, like I'm saying, the core non-vulgarized teaching, I think that's totally fine. If you look at
Well, I
how
mean,
it
yeah,
is
because if
being
you look at
used,
it from back in the day, the married red pill, they were always about how do I get my wife to love me again? How do I get her to want to sleep with me again? Right? Like it was all about how to fix their relationship. Now you hear the mainstream red pill, it's about don't get married, don't trust no woman, they're all 304s, they're all this, just pump them and dump them.
well,
Like that's the
actually,
narrative that
that's a
they
great.
speak now.
No, let me ask you this question. Actually, that's quite interesting. So you've been in the red pill for, I mean, been is kind of like you were adjacent to the red pill, if I may say, right? When did you see the shift, and what was the different stage of that shift?
It was funny because for me, it was like I always used to tell Rollo his work prior to getting on Access Vegas was his best work. All of his stuff, before like linking up with Mike Sartain was probably his best stuff because it actually broke things down a lot more to more nuance. Now, if you notice all of his stuff, he's talking about Rollo Tomaso don't get no hoes. Look at all these girls I'm with. Look at all these
Yeah,
pictures. I
yeah,
go
yeah.
to it's almost like he's capitalizing on the very thing that he says is a problem. He says female promiscuity is the problem, but then therefore he's marketing female promiscuity. So then it's like, then are you not the problem? So that was the shift for me. That was like one of the main shifts that I noticed. Like the rhetoric started changing.
Yeah, as we say in French, opportunity make the thief. Meaning by that, it's like it's easy to it's easy to criticize when you're not basically getting poon, but then when you're getting poon, that's where you see whether or not someone actually has ethics and has the moral.
Your
Uh,
conviction.
yeah, because it's easy to basically portray morality or virtue.
Well, that's the other
What?
thing. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. They say that the red pill is not moral, and there's no room for moral. Actually, Rolo said that recently, if you operate out of morals, you're emotional. You're operating out of emotionalism. So let me ask you this: if that's the
All right.
case, if it's supposed to be amoral, right?
Mhm.
If I if some guy physically forces himself upon a woman and he gets what he wants out of her, that's amoral, right?
I would say that go against the moral.
There's no morals there. Amoral means there's no moral
Yeah, no, but
judgment either way.
it's like I'm thinking it's more immoral. If you look at, for example, frame, right? What is frame? Frame is immoral in the sense of like, what do you want? What do what you're looking for? What you'll tolerate? What you're aiming for? All of those things vary based upon the individual in and of itself, right? And sometimes it
But
may
you
not
may say
necessarily
that
be.
you may say it's immoral, but for me, if it met my end goal is to get this out of this woman, and I force myself upon her, and I get this out of the woman, then it's amoral, right?
I would say it's immoral, which is different, which is go against the
I would
moral.
say
But the
I would agree with you. Say it's immoral, but from my position, right? Because it sought the goal. I got the goal. I met my goal. So then, how could it be bad or good?
Because when you do something such as
If
forcing
my frame
yourself
says I'm
sexually,
only
so.
if my frame is only about my outcome, I
Hmm.
don't care about the other outcome,
Hmm.
then it would be amoral, right?
Well, that would be, I mean, obviously, because you break a certain level of what's acceptable, it'd be
Exactly.
immoral, even it'd be immoral to me. But again, I think we're splitting hairs
That's the
here. But like,
problem, though. No,
hmm,
no, we're splitting hairs here because this is exactly the problem that I have with it. Because they're saying that if you act more with morality, then it's wrong. You're acting emotional. All
no,
right.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example, and I'll say why you're right, and why I actually agree with you. It might be surprising. If, for example, when I go on dates right now, like, when I deal with women and everything, I have my personal ethics, I have my personal morals, right, or whatever
Hmm.
you want to call it, right? Uh, am I emotional when I deal with them? No, I deny or I don't even basically entertain sex with women that I'm not interested in. Why? Because I have the agency that allows me to basically say no to something that actually is potentially on offer, right? And who basically has more power? The one that basically use moral as a way when he has when he has that leverage to decide whether yes or not, or someone who acts by default amoral in order to optimize and strategize. Because there's two ways of looking at things. You can either strategize and look for optimal way to get the outcome, or you can be authentic. And a lot of time being authentic doesn't mean optimizing for positive outcome, right?
Let me actually present you this. I'm going to share
Okay,
the
fine.
screen again. This is what I'm talking about. Let me see. I want you to see the theme here.
All right. Oh yeah, I saw that video. I like it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I just think she's disgusting, bro. I just think she's absolutely repulsive.
You've got 500,000 people on your Telegram, right?
Yeah,
And you're advertising OnlyFans girls on there.
yeah,
Do you think there's a contradiction there?
no, because I openly say I don't give a fuck. I'm doing it for money.
All right. He doesn't give a fuck what he's doing. He doesn't care what he's doing hurting anybody. He's doing it for money. Let me continue.
That's yeah, and that's I wanted to bring that up for like the best thing to do, guys, is just move silently, shut up. Like if you don't make content, you just, hey, women are the ones talking. They're gonna talk themselves to death about what is right, and none of them are gonna have either of them gonna have your best interest at heart. Play the game, and really we want to win. We don't care about being right.
We want to win. We don't care about being right. So being right is not not an option here. All right.
He'll go, why are you OnlyFans girls all whores? And shaking, thumping the Bible and everything. Like he was basically doing the same thing Andrew Wilson does every time he's on whatever podcast. It's just like he's just holding bitches accountable, appeals more to the emotional state of guys who are moralistic because that they're speaking the same language. Really, they're making emotional appeals.
You see that? So
Mhm.
having morals is emotionalism, right?
Mhm.
That right
Well,
there is problematic. When you're saying guys who operate from a moral compass is problematic, they're just being emotional. That
I mean,
so then
I
what?
don't, I don't, I don't, I don't see that as being emotional. I think that moral is a luxury that has a cost, and for you to bear it, you need to be aware of it. And generally, when you have
I
no
would agree
moral,
with
yeah,
you,
yeah.
but for what he's saying
Mm.
morality is emotionalism.
I'm not necessarily agreeing with that because the reason that you have morality is a matter of personal standards, and standards don't need to be emotional. But if you function under the idea that what doesn't work is emotional, it's wrong because when you do something, it doesn't mean that it needs to work, and that's the thing. When you have frame, it's not because it works, it's because it's aligned with you, and that is not
Yes.
necessarily emotional. And if you basically make all the outcomes the primary factor as to what defines your behavior, first of all, you're reactive and you're goal oriented, you're outcome dependent, and you're being guided by a third party, which is not you and which is a contradiction of frame. All right. So that's the problem on that front. And then, but for example, on the HS Tiki Talkie video, like he got a lot of bad rap for that shit, right? But actually, I have empathy for him, and I'll tell you why. Because Gen Z kid been basically, I've seen firsthand how like those collab streams, etc., and they see very much the vapidness of young women, and it's like, well, I know I'm not going to get that teenage love anymore. There's not a dream anymore. So they become very cynical and then be like, I'm living for myself. I want to make my money. And yeah, even though I don't approve behind it, I don't like the morality doesn't pay my bills. Therefore, I'm going to use it to my benefit. And it serves them. And my morals, I put them straight back there. Is it conducive to a better society? No. But
No.
are you, the thing is, that's the thing. That's your Pascal bargain, in the sense of, are you willing to basically get lesser outcome by playing right? And that's something that
Yes.
is a personal choice. No, but that's
That's
it.
it. Yeah. It's a
Or
personal
are
choice.
you, exactly? Or are you willing to make the pact with the
What I
devil?
what I what I think people are not thinking about though, they're thinking about themselves too much and they're not thinking about their children's children, if that makes sense. Like, like I have kids, right? Do I want my kids to have to endure the bullshit that we have to endure? No. My job is to try to make it leave the world better than we found it. You and I mentioned this before, like leave the girl better than you found her. Remember that? Like that was
And to be honest, yeah, I
that was
mean, to be honest, I'm not the best person on that front, but in terms of my
but no,
past, but
trust me, I'm not
yeah.
either. But like, that at least was like the mindset, like, hey, leave a woman better than you found her. Right. And that's what's missing. It's if we're saying like fuck it, fuck the future, fuck the next generation. We're just doing it with I'm here to get what I want out of it. Fuck them. They're gonna have to deal with it. To me, that's not being a good steward, and that's not helping your children in the future or your
I mean, I
grandchildren.
mean, I'm not in the same position as you because I don't have any children. The reality is, I have my morals, I have my ethics, and I feel better
Mhm.
for that. Maybe that makes me emotional, but I'm more aligned with myself
I
for
wouldn't say
that.
that makes you emotional. I would say your morals make you more masculine. If you're not going to, if you're not going to, if you're not going to sacrifice your morals,
Hmm.
and because your morals is part of your character. If you're not willing to sacrifice who you are, which is your character, to get an outcome, that to me is more masculine than somebody
It's
that will,
principle. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say
yeah,
it's principle
principle.
over moral. Yeah, like, yeah. I mean, I wasn't sure where you were heading at with this, but actually it makes sense if you just look at principle, because you want to
Yes,
know. It's like, can you trust someone that is potentially corruptible? No. And technically, what they're telling you is that basically they're not better than an an African politician.
exactly,
It's like, just for the promise of what? Porn? Please, it's fucking cheap. It's like, come on.
exactly. No, that's exactly where I stand on it, and I agree with you there. Like,
It's fine.
and I wish men would actually go back to principles. I wish we would like go back to basing things off of our principles, because there was a time when we would say like, oh, A white lie is a lie, just as big as much of a lie as a big lie. We didn't care about like, the scale of how severity of the lie was. But if you lied to me a little and you lied to me a big lie, then guess what? You're telling me that you are not worthy to be trustworthy. I should not trust you. You're willing to deceive me. And that's the principle of it, right? I wish we would go back to that framework rather than what we have now.
Ah, I mean, look, you know something? Who can you in a low trust environment, people trust people that give them things for free. And what I mean by give them things for free, give them things without expecting in return. Say, for example, you're vulnerable to a person, but you don't seek anything from that person, right?
Mhm.
You'd be like, actually, I'm going to use an example, right? I was with a client this weekend. I saw this woman, and it was about approaching women, and I saw this woman on her phone, and she was doing all this shit, right? So I started basically chatting her up like this, and she was like, "Oh, I'm in the middle of a date, etc." I was like, "Oh, don't worry, chill," and it's like, make a quick joke here and there, and I leave, right? And I said, before I leave, you know what? You're gorgeous, right? I knew it was over. I knew it was dead. But for example, I just give a nice compliment because it feels good. It feels good for that person to receive. It feels good for me to have. And because I say that and I leave, it basically carries no agenda
Yeah.
outside of
Yeah.
maybe making someone feel good. Or say, for example, you one of the best way in order to bond with someone, right? I mean, let's say between men to men, right? Everybody basically has that facade, that persona and everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like when you become vulnerable to another man, that man know he can trust you because it's almost like you have zero upside to being vulnerable with him. You see? And it's like, and if you function under the logic of I am you know, I'm not going to be vulnerable with every other man because I need to protect that thing, etc. You are fostering a low trust environment, so nobody can trust anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but by the way, I had Jack Napier and I had Nuke on the
Both
podcast.
of
That
them are
doesn't
my
change.
friends. Both of them are
Sorry.
my friends. Both of them
Oh,
are friends of
perfect,
mine. Yeah.
perfect. Well, so yeah, no, they're not. They're this is not, by the way, a dig whatsoever
No, 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 no.
on
It's
them.
just I'm speaking to the underlying theme there,
Yeah, yeah.
where I find is problematic. And Nuke and Jack are close friends of mine. They're actually part of the same. They were part of the same dragon ship as my mentor established. So they were all part of us, same group.
No, cool, cool. No, that's good. So, what would you say are still good reference for red pill content creators?
I mean, I would say like Paul Benjamin is a really good one. Paul Bauer is also a good one. I would say Rafe Dean Tour would probably be a really good person he's a
Mm,
writer. I
okay.
work with him. He works with MLD a lot, like John MLD. He's part of his men's MLD's back. I mean, he just did a live not too long ago. A couple days ago, it's like 2 days ago. He came back from Japan. He was in Japan and now he's back in the States. So
Oh, okay, okay. Well, because I think there was like an event in the whatever podcast that kind of like burned him
oh
for
yeah,
a
that
little
was
while.
like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He's been active since then. He's been active.
Oh, okay, okay. No,
But yeah.
that's fair
I would
enough.
say
That's fair
even
enough.
I would even recommend people looking at Rollo's older work, his older podcasts. Those are great. The
I
newer
mean, I've
stuff
read.
to me is more
Yeah,
like it's like a tabloid. Today's more, he's more like the TMZ of the red pill. He's just a
yeah.
gossip column.
I mean, I only read these first two books, right? I
Well,
thought they were
if
very.
you read the first one, you read them all because all the other ones are just the same book, just reframed in a way that for a specific group.
I'd say the second one adds a little bit on top. It's kind of like
It does.
it's almost like a remastered version of the first one. Like it's kind of like
Yeah.
first one and the second one. Then I've not read the other, but it's like you don't need to read all of them, I believe, in order to get the idea. But I really actually, I was thinking about what you were just saying about masculinity, right? Who are the people, and in order to kind of like leave something, from this podcast, right? Who are the people that you look up to?
Um, I would say like good speakers. Andrew Wilson's really good. He comes at it from more of a biblical worldview. I would actually say guys need to read It's Good to Be a Man. Where's that book at? I don't have it here right now. Um, It's Good to Be a Man by Michael Foster. He literally takes everything from the red pill and he puts it in a very well-read, well written format for guys to really understand red pill in a more beneficial, holistic way. Obviously, like I would say, my mentor, RP Thor, when he was alive,
Oh
that's a great.
yeah, I saw RP Thor. I remember.
Yeah.
So he was your mentor, RP Thor.
Oh yeah, I was his caregiver for the last like 7 months of his life.
Okay.
He asked me if I would do it, and I said sure. And I was there with him all the way to the day he took his last breath. So
Okay. So yeah, but actually, now you mentioned Andrew Wilson. What do you make of the event where he got owned by the woman?
what event he got owned by a woman?
He
Wait,
was on the whatever podcast, and then basically she kind of told him that he was, just well,
that his wife would
yeah, his wife stuff, yeah, yeah.
Well, what's funny is that one, that wasn't even like his wife was not even part of the debate. So
Yeah,
Rachel was
no.
never even part of the debate to begin with. So for me, that was a dig, like trying to low blow him and his wife. When he called her, says like you lick sniz and all that stuff. And you got to remember what she said. She said his wife appear less promiscuous if she aborted her children. Like that is foul. To say, "Oh yeah, she would have been better off if she killed her kids." Like that is pretty disgusting for anything to say. So I think like any parent would be upset or enraged by that.
But was
Um
it is no? But the thing is, no, because I remember before she went and she basically dropped the Rachel into the conversation, he
mhm.
really kind of asked for it. I mean, like in terms of the delivery, he became personal with her, and trust me, I'm not I'm the last person to be a defender of women, but I could understand why she basically decided to go in that realm because he introduced the personal realm inside the debate outside of just focusing on ideas.
Well, I think that they both kept on interjecting them like personal, themselves like individually. I think they both did a lot of ad hominems in there. Um but like if it was her attacking Andrew, I don't think it would have been a problem, right? It
Hmm.
was her attacking that somebody was not even there debating, you know? That was the problem. Like why would you bring somebody who's not even here to defend themselves or even present an argument, right? And attack them. Like I'm getting ready to do like I'm dropping a video here in about a couple minutes that actually covers that like Andrew and Rachel her story, more Rachel's
Hmm.
story than anything.
Hmm.
Um, and because it kind of shows that like this whole red pill idea like there's no women cannot be redeemable. Well, Rachel's a perfect example of you know being redeemable. Um, so it can be true. It doesn't mean that all women are, but they can be. So would I have handled it the way that Andrew handled it? Probably not. But at the same time, I understand why that was there. Was it a good look? Probably not. I don't think he won any people over by that. But at the same time, I don't think he lost anybody at the same
I mean, the
time.
people that are his fan, and whatever
Yeah,
happens,
exactly.
it's for the outside the outside audience. I think the only way, for example, and you made a very valid point, which is basically he attacked his wife, right? But from what I saw, is basically what he preaches based upon his choice, and obviously the wife is a collateral damage, shows that what basically framing him as hypocrite to the audience. That's what basically
Well, we're
that's.
all
But
hypocrites. Everybody's a
mm,
hypocrite. I mean, you got Richard Cooper saying not to get with single moms, and then he got with the single mom. Like,
no, but was it no? But is he? No, the thing is, it's like he was with a single mom, and that's why he said, "Don't get with
no, no,
single mom."
no. After the divorce, he got with another one.
Yeah, but it was before his content, was it?
No, it was after his book came out.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
So it's like, we're all hypocrites. People are all hypocrites. A lot of people say like, oh, you never see people say, do what I do. They hear people say, do what I say. Right. Because, you could tell people that, what, you need to work out an hour a day, 5 days a week, right? If you want to be in good shape. Well, what if you only work out 3 days a week? Are you a hypocrite because you're only working out 3 days a week when you're telling other guys they should work out 5 days a week?
No, I'm French and I work 35 hours a week because I I'm just
But you see what I'm saying? It's like a lot of
yeah,
people
yeah.
don't even practice what they preach.
Oh no, no. I mean, look, that's for sure. It's easier to give counsel than to follow them, right? I mean, look, what happens is actually quite funny, right? I say to my clients, focus on people, non-system. What did I do with my business? I focus on system and not enough on people, content
People.
distribution, and it took me a while to actually realize that because
Yeah,
it's kind of like when you're in a relationship, you never really understand. Like you have your blinkers, and it's like you just have that tunnel vision and everybody can see everything outside except you, right? Because you're so invested in the process that you don't have that external look that can actually give you that counsel, right? So it's not necessarily that you're a
exactly.
hypocrite. It's sometimes just you lack of self-awareness because you're so much in your fucking head, but again, right, I'm sure that I
Exactly.
mean, I'm far from being the Mr. Clean guy, on every front. So, I'm more than happy to say it.
I tell people like, look, I'm not your guru. I am not your hero. I am not somebody to model your life after.
Hmm.
But if anything that I'm saying is informative and you find useful, great, use it. I'm just here to give you information. I'm not trying to tell you how to be, but learn from my mistakes because I'll tell you my mistakes and I hope that you learn from them. That's about it, you know?
All right. Three biggest mistakes.
Ooh. Um, Prioritizing hotness over anything else. So making attractiveness is the number one priority.
Yeah.
Um, Not being ready, like faking it till you make it. That actually could bite you in the ass if you don't make it in time, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and not following through with what you say. When you put a boundary, execute the boundary regardless. As
Hmm.
soon as you show weakness in your boundaries, then you have shown them that what your frame is not enforced. You
Hmm.
have no frame enforcement.
Yeah.
Those are my
Actually,
three.
actually on this one, I would love to, and actually on two, I would love to go. Well, actually on the three, I'm gonna. So hotness. So now instead of focusing on hotness, what would you say focus on?
Um, so is she agreeable? I mean, obviously you have to be attracted to her. That's number 1. That's still number
Hmm.
1, but it's not it doesn't mean it's the all end all. Like you have to still be attracted to her sexually, okay? But prioritize agreeableness. Does she know how to take accountability? Does she know how to be submissive, you know? Is she willing to
I
be
said,
submissive to you?
I said
These are all
one.
oh, well, yeah.
If you have to choose one.
I would say besides attractiveness, I would say does she know how to take accountability?
Okay, fine. The second one is don't fake. I mean, if you fake it to make it, make sure that you make it before, in good time.
Yeah,
Um,
you have a
can you
timeline.
illustrate?
You have a time
Can you
limit
illustrate that?
there.
Do you have
Like,
like a story to illustrate or something like that?
so, um, I moved to Vegas to produce for Rolo, and the entire time I was there, I never got paid, and I was expecting this payment for doing so, and I made commitments based on having them expecting the money before I had it, and in doing so, that put me in a bad position because it made me look like I wasn't being able to follow through with what I committed to, because I was basing on my commitment based off of what I was expecting from their commitment. So basically,
All right.
I count my eggs before they hatch, basically.
Yeah, trust me, I've done that as well. And the last one is on the boundaries because here I'm gonna give you a setup, right? I'm gonna give you a setup. It's like say you're with someone for a little while, whatever, right? And it's
Mhm.
like they've been relatively good with you. They've not fuck around, like they've been whatever. And it's like you kind of like slightly step out, and it's like you'd be like, look, this is fine for now, but the next time you do it, that's not gonna cut it. Do you straight when they slightly step out, like set the boundary, just be like, yeah, that's it, or do you
Let me
give it a
give
bit
you an
more time?
example. I'll give you an example. So I told the last girl I was in a relationship with, um,
Hmm.
the moment you decide to post something provocative on social media that's not work related, um, is the day that you're telling me you don't want to be in a relationship. because she did acting and modeling as well. And I was like, okay, I get it. If you're promoting your work, that's one thing. But if you're putting something out there that's like a selfie of you in a bathing suit or something like that, then you're promoting yourself. You're advertising yourself. And that's the day that we're not in a relationship.
All right, and
And
let me ask you
that,
this: How can you
that's
make?
exactly what
How can you?
happened.
No, but how did you? How did you? Because it's so murky. Everything now, the brand and what you do is is so merged between one another. It's hard to to
Well, if
differentiate.
it's a professional photo, if a photographer took a photo and you got the photos, right? And you're promoting this brand or you're
Hmm.
promoting this film or whatever, and that's an image of that, that's one thing. If you take a selfie, right, and you're laying out on the poolside in a micro bikini, that is not promoting the film or the product that you're working for. That is promoting yourself, and that's advertising yourself as you're single. So that's the distinction.
Okay, no, because like women are great at just murking the water all the time just for their benefit.
But yeah,
And so basically, did she break the boundary?
she broke the boundary.
But you see, there's that thing with I think what's interesting with boundary as a concept is that it makes sense, but sometimes it almost can sound like a threat or like an ultimatum, and it's almost like they will always call your bluff, and it's like rather than always necessarily preemptive boundary, just be like disengage from the moment that they do the boundary, rather than basically
Well, the
give them the tools for them to manipulate you. Do you see what I'm saying?
well, the way I do it is like I tell them what I expect in the beginning when they ask me like, so what are we? When they want the relationship, I
Mm-hmm.
lay out my framework. This is what if you want to be
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship with me, this is how the relationship with me works. This is what
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting of you, and this is what you can expect of me. Right? That way, when there is a frame violation, I don't have to say anything. So you already knew. You already agreed to it ahead of time. So the moment you stepped out of it, there's no argument. We're no even got to fight about it. It's just simple as like, hey, you knew what it was. And I'm respecting your decision. I'm respecting you to do what you want to do. No problem. But you don't get to have your cake and eat it too.
All right, all right. Okay. By the way, if you have a document that you can send me on DocuSign so I can copy paste, so it'll make my life easy, you tell me, all right? Because you know what, what I do find funny, really. I mean, like in the US, what you have the judiciarization of everything, and it's
Yeah,
almost like now relationship have become so contractual. Like there's no more like organic aspect to it. It's almost like everything has to be ring fenced because you know people just abuse because there's no structures, there's no moral and everything. So everything
exactly.
become monetized one way or
Yep.
another.
They,
What's
they
up?
abuse it. They abuse it really bad. And it's sad that it has to be that way. But I
And
rather explicitly say to you what I expect and what I don't expect in a relationship up front. That way, moving forward how to operate. Because if you decide to operate outside of that, then we already know what the response is going to be. You're not going to be blindsided from it. You're not going to be like, "Oh, I didn't know." Well, you know,
yeah. Well, anyway, do you have any closing thoughts or any message that you'd like to carry? Because I have to go on from this podcast.
I would say this. The closing statement I'll say is vet everything. Do your due diligence. Anything that you hear anybody say, do trust but verify. Trust that they're telling you the truth, but verify whether or not they are. Don't be blind and follow people blindly because that's how you end up getting hurt.
Anyway, it doesn't have to be someone that you listen to. If you follow blindly the wrong person, you'll get hurt too. So it's like, make
Exactly.
sure. It may be
Exactly.
someone else. It may be that person, or it may be the person in real life you're dealing with. So.
Trust but verify. If their actions and their words do not align, that should give you room for questioning.
All right. Perfect. Well, thank you, Glenn, for coming to the podcast. It was a real pleasure.
Thank
Love
you,
to
French.
have a veteran of the game in it to actually, give a little bit more wisdom to the younger crowd that I normally invite.
This gray came for a reason. I got all this gray for a reason. All right.
Trust me, I know, man. Like, look at this. I've lost my hair. I've got gray in my beard, man. It's fucking shite. Anyway,
Well, you take it easy, French. I'll talk to you later, man.
talk to you later, man.
Be easy.
Easy.